The gallery opening was the kind of event Elena Russo had learned to navigate with practiced ease. Champagne flutes balanced on silver trays, abstract art that cost more than her annual salary, and me, she'd been dragged here by her best friend Sophia, who'd conveniently disappeared 15 minutes ago with a sculptor who probably couldn't pay his rent. Elena checked her phone. No messages. She was officially abandoned. She moved toward the exit, weaving between clusters of pretentious conversation about color theory and postmodern symbolism. The gallery was in Soho, which meant she could catch a cab on Spring Street and be home in 20 minutes. Her couch and a glass of actual decent wine were calling her name. She turned the corner into a quieter hallway, away from the main exhibition space, and nearly collided with a man examining a painting in the dimmed corridor. He caught her elbow to steady her, and she looked up into warm brown eyes and an easy smile. "Sorry," she said, stepping back. "I wasn't watching where I was going." "Neither was I." His voice was Elena glanced at the painting he'd been studying. It was actually good, unlike most of the pieces in the main room. A landscape of the Italian coast, all golden light and azure water. "I like this one." "Amalfi," he said. "My family's from near there." "Mine too. Well, my grandparents were." She smiled. "I'm Elena." "Luca." He extended his hand, and she shook it. His grip was warm, confident, but not crushing. "Are you—" "I'm a trauma nurse at Mount Sinai. My friend dragged me here and then abandoned me for a man with a man bun." Luca laughed, a genuine sound that made her like him immediately. "That's grounds for friendship termination. Right?" Elena felt herself relaxing. He was attractive in an understated way, tall and lean, with dark hair that fell slightly over his forehead. More importantly, he seemed normal. "What about you? Artist or art appreciator?" "Appreciato, though I'm not sure I appreciate most of what's out there tonight." "The piece that's just a blank canvas with a single red dot?" "Priced at $40,000, Luca said, shaking his head. I checked. "Of course you did." Elena grinned. "I should go. My couch is calling me." "Or," Luca said, and there was something almost mischievous in his expression, "you could let me buy you a real drink. There's a wine bar 2 blocks from here. I promised to Mo." Elena hesitated for exactly 3 seconds. He seemed nice. Normal. The kind of guy who didn't take himself too seriously. And she was tired of going home alone every Friday night. "1 drink," she said. The wine bar was intimate and low-lit, the kind of place that actually cared about their wine selection. Luca ordered in Italian, which earned an approving nod from the sommelier, and Elena found hers. He asked about her work, and actually listened to her answers. When he walked her to the corner to catch a cab an hour later, she made a decision. "Thanks for rescuing my evening," she said. "Thanks for letting me." He smiled, and she thought what the hell, and kissed him. It was brief, sweet, a simple press of lips that tasted like wine and possibility. When she pulled back, his expressio, "I'll call you," he said, and she gave him her number before sliding into the cab. Elena spent Saturday morning with a smile on her face and her phone nearby. Sophia called to apologize for ditching her, and Elena found herself describing Luca with more enthusiasm than she'd felt about a man in months. "He sounds perfect," Sophia said. "When are you seeing—" Elena did like him. That was the problem. She had a terrible track record with men, a series of disappointing dates and relationships that fizzled before they started. But Luca felt different. Easy. Uncomplicated. Her phone rang Sunday evening. Unknown number. "Elena Russo?" The voice was female, professional. "Yes?" "This is Mount Sinai Administration. We have a situation that requires senior TR. There's been an incident and we need you to come in tonight. Multiple GSWs incoming." Elena's stomach dropped. gunshot wounds, plural. I'll be there in 30 minutes. The ER was controlled chaos when she arrived. Elena changed into scrubs and got the briefing from Dr. Patel. A shooting at a restaurant in Little Italy. Gang-related, probably. 5 victims, 2 critical. She was elbow-deep in surgery for the next 4 hours, working with the kind of focused intensity that When she finally emerged, exhausted and spattered with blood despite the surgical gown, the waiting room was still full. Elena went to update the family of the patient she'd just stabilized. The man would live, though he'd be in recovery for weeks. His wife burst into tears of relief, and Elena felt the familiar mix of exhaustion and satisfaction that came with saving a life. She was heading back toward the staff area when she saw him. Luca was standing near the nurse's station, talking quietly with a man in an expensive suit. Her heart did a stupid little jump, and she smiled, already moving toward him. He looked up as she approached, and something flickered across his face. Surprise? Then something else she couldn't quite read. "Luca," she said, suddenly aware that she probably looked like hell. "What are you doing here?" He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, a voice behind her made her turn. "Elena." She froze. The man standing there was identical to Luca. Same face, same build, same dark hair. But everything else was different. This man wore a suit that probably cost more than her car, tailored to perfection. His presence was different too, heavier somehow, commanding. People moved out of his way without seeming to realize they were doing it, and his eyes, the same warm brown as Luca's, were not warm at all as they fixed on her face. "I'm Dante Salvatore," he said. "I believe you've met my twin brother." Elena's brain stuttered. Twin. She looked between them, and now she could see the subtle differences. Dante was maybe an inch taller, his shoulders slightly broader. He held himself differently, with the kind of absolute certainty that came from never being questioned. And there was a scar, faint but visible, along his jawline that Luca didn't have. "Oh," she said. "I didn't know." Clearly. Dante's gaze moved over her face with an intensity that made her want to step back. "You're the trauma nurse who just saved Marco's life." It wasn't a question. Elena nodded. "He'll recover. It'll take time, but he'll be okay." "Good." Dante glanced at Luca, and something passed between them, some silent twin communication she couldn't decipher. "Luca, go sit with Marco's wife. I need to." "It's just Nurse Russo," Elena corrected automatically. "And I should get back to work. 5 minutes." It wasn't a request. Luca gave her an apologetic look and disappeared down the hallway. Elena was left standing there, very aware that she was covered in someone's blood and that Dante Salvatore was studying her like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. "You kissed my brother." Dante Sal. "That's really none of your business." "When it involves my family, everything is my business." He stepped closer, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne and something darker underneath. "Friday night, outside a wine bar in Soho. Are you having him followed?" "I have everyone followed." Dante tilted his head slightly. "You're very direct." "I'm very tired," Elena shot back. "And I just spent 4. So if you're done interrogating me about a perfectly innocent kiss, I have patients to check on." Something that might have been amusement flickered in his eyes. "Did you enjoy it?" "Excuse me?" "The kiss. Did you enjoy kissing my brother?" Elena felt her face flush. Again. "None of your business." "I'm making it my business." Dante moved closer still, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "Because Luca is too polite to tell you." "What truth?" "That you kissed the wrong twin." His voice was low, intimate, and completely infuriating. "And now you're going to spend every moment with him wondering what it would have been like to kiss me instead." Elena's breath caught. The sheer arrogance of the statement should have made her angry. It did make her angry. But underneath the anger was something else, something that felt dangerously like curiosity. You're incredibly... Yes. Dante didn't look bothered by the accusation. But I'm not wrong. He reached out and caught a strand of her hair that had escaped her ponytail, rubbing it between his fingers before tucking it behind her ear. The gesture was possessive, and far too intimate for someone she'd just met. "Stay away from my brother," he said quietly. Elena stepped back, breaking the contact. "That's his decision, not yours." Dante's smile was sharp. "Luca is a good man. Kind. Uncomplicated. Exactly the type of man a woman like you should want." "A woman like me? Smart. Independent. Used to being in control." His eyes held hers. "But you don't want easy, Elena. You want someone who challenges you. Someone who won't let you hide behind that sharp tongue and those walls you've built. You don't know anything about me. I know you work 70-hour weeks. I know you haven't had a serious relatio. And I know that right now you're angry with me, but you're also wondering if I'm right." Elena's heart was pounding. "You're insane." "Probably." He pulled a card from his pocket and held it out. "When you're done lying to yourself, call me." "I'm not going to call you." "Yes, you are." Dante turned to leave, then pee. "And Elena? Next time you kiss one of us, make sure you know which twin you're kissing. I don't share well." He walked away, and Elena stood there in the fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor, holding his card and trying to remember how to breathe. Elena threw Dante's card in the trash the moment she got home. Then she fished it out an hour later, told herself she was keeping it just in case, and shoved it in her junk drawer beneath takeout menu. She also didn't return Luca's text for 3 days, which made her feel like garbage, because he'd done nothing wrong except have an insufferable twin brother who apparently thought he could read her mind. The problem was that Dante had read her correctly, and that was unforgivable. Elena spent Monday through Wednesday picking up extra shifts, which was her standard method of avoiding feelings. Dr. Patel commented that she was trying to set a record for consecutive hours worked, and she told him she was saving for a vacation. The truth was that when she was working, she didn't have time to think about warm brown eyes or the way Dante had touched her hair like he had every right to. Thursday afternoon, she finally texted Luca back. "Sorry for going dark. Crazy week at work. Hope you're doing okay." His response came within minutes. "No worries. I get it. Can I see you? Coffee tomorrow." Elena stared at the message. Luca was nice, normal, exactly what she should want. And maybe if she spent time with him, she could prove to herself that Dante was wrong about everything. She agreed to meet him Friday at a cafe in the West Village. Luca was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cappuccinos waiting. He stood when he saw her, and his smile was genuine and warm and uncomplicated. "You look tired," he said, which should have been insulting, but somehow wasn't. 12-hour shifts will do that." Elena sat down and wrapped her hands around the cup. "Thanks for this." "Of course." Luca settled back into his chair, and there was something hesitant in his expression. "I wanted to apologize for Sunday. For Dante." "You don't need to apologize for your brother." "Yes, I do." Luca ran a hand through his hair. "He can be intense, overwhelming. I should have warned you that I'm a twin." "Why didn't you?" "Honestly, because when I'm with you, I'm just Luca. Not Dante's brother. Not part of the Salvatore family. Just me." He met her eyes. "That doesn't happen often." Elena felt a pang of sympathy. She understood wanting to be seen as yourself, separate from the weight of family expectations. "I get that. Do you?" Luca's voice was gentle. "Because Dante told me what he said to you, about staying away from me." Heat crept up Elena's neck. "He had no right." "No, he didn't." Luca leaned far. But I need you to understand something about my brother. He thinks he's protecting me. He always has. And when Dante decides something, he doesn't let go easily. I'm not afraid of him. You should be. There was no humor in Luca's expression now. Not because he'd hurt you. Dante would never hurt a woman. But because once he decides he wants something, he gets it. And Elena, I saw the way he looked at you. Elena's heart kicked against her ribs. He doesn't want me. He just doesn't want me with you. Those might be the same thing. Luca reached across the table and took her hand. His touch was warm, pleasant, completely non-threatening. I like you. I think we could be good together. But I won't compete with my brother. I can't. I don't want you to compete. Then tell me honestly. Luca's thumb brushed across her knuckles. When you think about that night, about kissing me, are you wondering what it would have been? The silence stretched between them. Answer enough. Luca pulled his hand back, but he didn't look angry, just resigned. That's what I thought. I'm sorry. Don't be. You can't help what you feel. He stood, pulling out his wallet. For what it's worth, I hope you know what you're getting into. Dante's world isn't easy. It's not safe. And once you're in it, Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. How was coffee with my brother? Elena stared at the message, anger flooding through her. She typed back furiously. Are you seriously having me followed? The response was immediate. I told you. I have everyone followed. Especially people who interest me. She should block the number. Should. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. If that's what you need to believe. There's a fundraiser tomorrow night at the plaza. Cardiac research. I know Mount Sinai is sending representatives. Wear something red. Elena's breath caught. How did he know she'd been assigned to attend the hospital fundraiser? She'd only found out this morning that, stop pretending you don't want me to. She threw her phone in her purse and left the cafe, ignoring the way her hands were shaking. The plaza ballroom was exactly as elegant as Elena had expected. Crystal chandeliers, a string quartet, and enough wealth concentrated in one room to fund a small country's healthcare system. She'd worn a simple black dress because she didn't take orders from Aragi. Dr. Patel introduced her to a series of donors whose names she immediately forgot, and she smiled and made small talk about trauma response times and equipment needs. She was good at this part, translating medical necessity into funding opportunities. It was just another kind of triage. She'd been there an hour and hadn't seen Dante. She told herself she was relieved, then she felt him before she saw him. It was like the air pressure changed, a shift in the atmosphere that made her turn toward the entrance. Dante stood in the doorway, scanning the room with the casual confidence of someone who owned every space he entered. His suit was midnight blue, perfectly tailored, and he wore it like armor. His eyes found hers across the ballroom, and even from 50 feet away she felt the impact. He moved through the crowd, and people parted for him without seeming to realize they were doing it. Women watched him pass with obvious interest. Men either nodded in respect or looked away quickly. Elena recognized power when she saw it, the kind that didn't need to announce itself. Dr. Russo, Dante said when he reached her, his voice carrying just enough warmth to sound polite. I'm glad Mount Sinai sent their best. It's Nurse Russo, she corrected for the second time. And I'm Esau. My father died of a heart attack. Dante's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. I'm very interested in cardiac research. That caught her off guard. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was 10 years ago. He glanced at her dress. I thought I suggested red. I don't take suggestions from men who have me followed. Fair enough. Dante moved closer, lowering his voice. Though you look beautiful in black. Like you're in mourning. He caught the attention of a passing waiter and took 2 glasses of champagne, handing her one. Tell me something. Why did you become a trauma nurse? The question surprised her. Why do you care? Because you're interesting, and I make it my business to understand interesting things. Dante's gaze was steady on her face. You're smart enough to be a doctor. You have the grady. You asked about me? I told you. I'm thorough. He waited, and Elena found herself answering despite her better judgment. I like the immediacy of it. The ER. You don't have time to second-guess yourself. Someone comes in bleeding. You stop the bleeding. It's clear. Direct. You like control. I like saving lives. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Dante tilted his head slightly. You're very good at keeping people at a distance. I imagine it's a useful skill in your work. And in my personal life. Especially there. His smile was slight. But it won't work with me. Because you're so special. Because I see through it. Dante set his untouched champagne on a nearby table. Dance with me. That's not a question. No, it's not. Elena should have said no. Should have walked away and found Dr. Patel and spent the rest of the evening talking about defibrillator upgrades. His hand settled on her waist, warm and possessive through the thin fabric of her dress. Her palm met his, and she felt calluses there that surprised her. Men like Dante didn't usually have working hands. You're wondering about my hands, he said, because apparently he noticed everything. I wasn't. Liar. Dante pulled her closer as they moved to the music. I box. 3 times a week. It helps me that... His voice was matter-of-fact. My world requires a certain amount of controlled violence. Boxing keeps it controlled. Elena's heart was beating too fast. They were talking about violence at a charity fundraiser, and somehow it felt more honest than any conversation she'd had in months. Your world, you mean the Mafia. I mean my family's business intima. Dante's hand tightened slightly on her waist. Which includes some activities that exist in legal gray areas. That's a diplomatic way of putting it. I'm not a diplomat. I'm a realist. He spun her gently, then pulled her back. And I'm not going to lie to you about what I am. I run an organization that operates outside conventional law. I make decisions that would horrify most people. I've done things that would give you nightmares. Then why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know what you're considering. Dante's eyes held hers. And because I think you're stronger than you realize. Strong enough to handle the truth. I'm not considering anything. Yes, you are. His thumb brushed against her spine, a deliberate touch that made her breath catch. You've been considering it since Sunday night, wondering what it would be like, wondering if I'm as dangerous as I seem. And are you? More. Dante's voice dropped lower, but never to you. The song ended, but neither of them moved. They stood there in the middle of the dance floor, close enough that Elena could feel the heat of him, could see the faint scar along his jaw, and the absolute certainty in his eyes. I should go, she said. You should. Dante released her slowly, deliberately. But you won't. Not yet. He was right, and that was the most infuriating part. Elena spent the next hour hyper-aware of exactly where Dante was in the room. He worked the crowd with practiced ease, shaking hands and making conversation that looked casual, but probably wasn't. She watched him donate $250,000 to the Cardiac Research Fund with the same ease most people bought coffee. When she finally left, exhausted and confused and angry with herself, she found her car blocked in the parking garage by a sleek black Mercedes. Dante was leaning against it, waiting. You blocked me. He pushed off the car. I'm having your vehicle checked. Your what? Someone slashed your rear tire. Probably kids, but I don't take chances. Dante pulled out his phone. My driver will take you home. Your car will be delivered tomorrow, fixed. Elena's anger warred with unwilling gratitude. I can take care of myself. I know you can, but you don't have to. He stepped closer. This is what it means. Being in my world, I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Not yet. Dante reached out and traced his thumb along her jaw, the same gesture he'd used with her hair, possessive, claiming. But you will be. And when you are, no one will touch you. No one will hurt you. No one will even look at you wrong without answering to me. Elena's breath was coming too fast. That's not protection, that's ownership. In my world, they're the same thing. His hand dropped. Go home. Get some sleep. And Elena? What? Stop fighting this. You're only making it harder on yourself. He walked away, and Elena stood there in the parking garage, trembling with anger and something that felt dangerously like anticipation. She got in the car, she let his driver take her home, and when she was alone in her apartment, she pulled Dante's card from her junk drawer and stared at it for a long time before finally putting it in her wallet. Just in case, she told herself. But Dante Salvatore had been right about everything, and that terrified her more than anything else. Part 3. Elena made it 4 days before Dante forced her hand. 4 days of pretending she wasn't checking her phone constantly. 4 days of telling herself that the flutter in her stomach when she thought about him was just anxiety, not anticipation. 4 days of lying to herself so thoroughly that she almost believed it. A box containing a vintage medical journal from 1952, opened to an article about battlefield triage techniques that had revolutionized trauma care. The note inside was written in sharp, precise handwriting. Thought you'd appreciate the history. Some methods of control have always been necessary. Dinner tonight. I'll pick you up at 7. No question mark. No polite request. Just an assumption that I have plans tonight. The response came immediately. Cancel them. She stared at her phone, fury rising in her chest. The audacity of this man, thinking he could just command her time, her attention, her life. She should block his number. Should report the slash-tire incident to the police, though she suspected that would lead exactly nowhere. Instead, she found herself typing. No. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then I'll see you at Maria at 8. I've already made the reservation. Wear whatever you want. You'll look beautiful regardless. Elena wanted to scream. She also wanted to know what Maria was, so she Googled it and discovered it was one of the most exclusive Italian restaurants in Manhattan, the kind of place that required reservations months in advance. Of course, Dante could get a table with a few hours' notice. She told herself she wasn't going. Told herself all through the rest of her shift, through the gunshot wound and the motorcycle accident, and the elderly woman with chest pain who turned out to be having a panic attack about her grandson's wedding. At 7:15, she was standing in her apartment in her scrubs, staring at her closet. At 7:45, she was wearing a deep green dress that made her eyes look darker, her hair down instead. At 8:03, she walked into Maria and gave Dante's name to the hostess, who smiled like she'd been expecting her. He was already seated, of course, waiting with the patience of a predator who knew his prey would come eventually. When he saw her, something flickered in his expression. Satisfaction, yes, but also something warmer. You're late, duh. I wasn't planning on coming. Elena sat down without waiting for him to stand. I'm still not sure why I did. Because you're tired of pretending. He poured her wine from a bottle that was probably worth more than her monthly rent. And because you wanted to see me. Your confidence is exhausting. My confidence is accurate. Dante leaned back, studying her. That color is perfect on you, like deep water, dangerous and inviting. His voice was serious. Because you make me want things I'd convinced myself I didn't need. Elena's breath caught. Like what? Like this. Dinner with a woman who isn't afraid to tell me no. Conversation that isn't about business or territory or the 1,000 small wars I fight every day. Dante's eyes held hers. Like someone who sees me as Dante, not just as the Salvatore heir. It was Elena took a sip of wine to buy herself time. Luca said something similar, about wanting to be seen as just himself. My brother and I have that in common. Dante's expression hardened slightly. Among very few other things. He cares about you. I know. That's why I protect him from my world as much as possible. Dante paused as the waiter brought appetizers. Luca is good. Genuinely good. He volunteers at youth centers, donates to causes he believes. I can never allow myself to become... Why not? Because good men don't survive in my position. Good men get killed, and their families get destroyed, and their empires crumble. Dante's voice was matter-of-fact. I'm not good, Elena, but I'm effective, and I'm ruthless, and I keep my people safe. That has to be enough. Elena set down her fork. You think you don't deserve good things. That's why you push people. I don't push people away. I keep them at the appropriate distance. Same thing. No. Dante leaned forward. Pushing away is defensive. What I do is strategic. I let people close enough to be useful, but not close enough to be vulnerable. And where am I in that strategy? You're the variable I didn't account for. His hand moved across the table. Not quite. I should eliminate, but can't bring myself to. Eliminate. That's a concerning word choice. I don't mean physically. Dante's mouth curved slightly. I mean, I should stop thinking about you. Should let you go back to your safe, normal life and find some safe, normal man who'll give you safe, normal happiness. But you won't. No. The single word was absolute. Because I'm selfish and should have thrown her wine in his face and walked out. Instead, she found herself asking, What do you want from me? Everything. Dante's fingers finally touched hers, just the lightest brush. Your time, your attention, your sharp tongue and your sharper mind, the way you look at me like you're trying to figure out if I'm worth saving. Are you? No. He turned her hand over, tracing the lines of her palm. But I try anyway, and that terrifies me more than anything I've faced. The waiter returned with their entrees, and Dante released her hand. They ate and talked about safer things, her work, his legitimate business interests, the city they both loved. But underneath every word was the current of something inevitable, something that had been building since that first night when she'd seen him across Luca's hospital room. After dinner, Dante paid and stood. Walk with me. Where? Does it matter? It should have. Elena should have called a car, gone home, put distance between herself and this man who openly admitted he was dangerous. Instead, she took his offered arm and let him lead her out into the cool October night. They walked toward Central Park, and Dante kept his hand at the small of her back, possessive and protective at once. The streets were busy with tourists and theater-goers, the city alive with its issue. Tell me about your family, Elena said. What do you want to know? Why you do this? Run the organization instead of walking away. Dante was quiet for a long moment. My father built something from nothing. He came to this country with $50 and a cousin's address, and he turned it into an empire. Not all of it legal, not all of it clean, but all of it powerful. When he died, I was 28. Cancer. His voice was carefully neutral. After that, it was just my father, me, and Luca, and my father's sister, Carmela, who moved in and tried to keep us civilized. Did it work? With Luca, yes. With me? Dante's smile was grim. I was already too much like my father. Too angry, too ambitious, too willing to do whatever was necessary. They entered the park, and the noise of the city faded as slow. I don't think you're as ruthless as you want me to believe, Elena said. Why not? Because ruthless men don't donate to cardiac research. They don't protect their brothers from their own world. They don't take trauma nurses to expensive dinners and talk about wanting to be seen. Dante stopped walking and turned to face her. They were in a small clearing, trees surrounding them, the city Visi. Elena met his eyes. But I think you like that I see you, that I'm not afraid. You should be afraid. Dante's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. Because once I have you, Elena, I won't let go. That's not a romantic promise. It's a warning. I don't need warnings. I need honesty. Then honestly, his other hand settled on her waist, pulling. Elena's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. And what did you imagine? That you'd do both. Dante's voice dropped lower, that you'd push back and pull me closer at the same time, that you'd make me work for every inch. You're right. I usually am. There's that arrogance again. You love it. His thumb traced her. Tell me you don't want this, and I'll walk away. I'll leave you alone, let you find someone safe and appropriate. Elena knew she should. Knew this was the moment where she could still turn back, could still return to her normal life. But Dante was right about everything, and she was tired of pretending. I don't want you to stop, she whispered. Dante's eyes darkened. Then hold on. He kissed her like he did everything else. Elena gasped, and he took advantage, deepening the kiss until she forgot where they were, forgot every reason this was a terrible idea. She gripped his shoulders, feeling the hard muscle beneath the expensive suit. He tasted like wine and want. And when his teeth caught her lower lip, she made a sound that should have embarrassed her. I feel it. Tell me you want me. I want you. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. But I don't trust you. Good. Dante's smile was sharp. Trust is earned. Want is honest. He kissed her again, slower this time, like he was memorizing the taste of her. Come home with me. No. No? He sounded more amused than offended. Not yet. Elena stepped back, needing distance to think. You said you wanted everything. That means time. That means letting me choose this at my own pace. And if I said I can't wait, then you'd be lying. She straightened her dress, trying to calm her racing heart. Because patient predators are the most dangerous kind. Dante laughed, the sound genuine and surprised. You're going to destroy me. Probably. I look forward to it. He pulled out his phone. My home. I can get my own car. I know you can, but you won't. Because you're learning that letting me take care of you doesn't make you weak. Dante stepped closer, his hand sliding into her hair. It makes you mine. Before Elena could respond, before she could process that declaration, a voice cut through the darkness. Well, isn't this touching? They both turned. 3 men emerged from the athletic builds, the kind of casual menace that came from experience. The one who'd spoken had a scar running through his eyebrow and a smile that made her skin crawl. Dante moved instantly, positioning himself between Elena and the men. His entire demeanor changed, the charming dinner companion disappearing behind something cold and lethal. Vitali, Dante said. Hi, or are you just in the wrong place at the wrong time? Distracted by your pretty nurse? Elena's blood went cold. They knew who she was. Walk away, Dante said. Now, while you still can. See, that's the thing. Vitali pulled out a gun, and his companions did the same. We've been waiting for you to give us an opening. And here you are, playing Romeo in the park. Elena suddenly realized he must have his own weapon. You pull those triggers, and you start a war you can't win. Maybe, but you'll be dead, and that's worth something. Vitali's eyes shifted to Elena. The girl's just a bonus. Send a message about what happens when you poach our territory. Everything happened at once. Dante drew his gun and fired in one smooth motion. The man to Vitale's left went. Elena screamed, her training warring with terror. Vitale fired back, and Dante shoved her behind a tree, his body covering hers. More gunshots, shouting, the sound of running feet, then silence. Dante pulled back, checking her frantically. "Are you hurt? Elena, look at me. Are you hurt?" No, I'm fine." Her hands were shaking. "You're bleeding." He looked down at his arm, where blood was seeping through his jacket. "It's nothing. Grazed me." He pulled out his phone, made a call. Center, west side, near the clearing. 3 hostiles, 1 down, 2 fled. Send cleanup and get me Carlo. He hung up and turned back to Elena. "We need to move, now. That man, you shot him. And he would have shot you." Dante's voice was hard. "This is my world, Elena. This is what I meant. Are you understanding now?" She was. God help her, she was. And the worst part was that even terrified, even with her ears still ringing from gunshots, she didn't want to run from him. She wanted to see. Wanted to one. Part 4. Elena's hands moved on autopilot, peeling back Dante's jacket to assess the wound. Years of emergency medicine overrode the shock, the fear, the surreal horror of what had just happened. "It's superficial," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Needs cleaning and stitches, but you'll live." "I always do." Dante caught her wrist gently. "Elena, look at me." She did. His eyes were dark, intense, searching her face for something. "I need you, T. Because my men are coming, and once they arrive, once you're deeper in this, there's no going back to pretending you don't know what I am. I already know what you are. Knowing and seeing are different things." His thumb pressed against her pulse point. "You just watched me shoot a man. You're standing in my world now, and it's uglier than you imagined." Elena's mind was racing. She should call the police, should run, should do anything except what SI, which was staying with this dangerous man who'd just killed someone to protect her. "Did you have a choice?" she asked. "No." "Would he have killed us?" "Yes." "Then you did what you had to do." Elena pulled her hand free and pressed it against his wound, applying pressure. "And I'm making my choice. I'm staying." Something shifted in Dante's expression. Relief, maybe, or resignation. "You're insane." "Probably." She managed a shaky smile. "But I've been playing it safe. Where has it gotten me? Alone in a tiny apartment, married to my job, pretending I don't want more. I'm not more, Elena. I'm worse. You're both." She heard vehicles approaching, saw headlights cutting through the trees. "And I'm choosing you anyway." Dante kissed her hard, quick, a claiming that tasted like relief and possession. Then his men arrived, and everything became organized chaos. Carlo appeared first, taken, professional efficiency. He barely glanced at Elena, which she suspected meant Dante had already told him about her. 2 other men secured the perimeter, while a third checked the body. "Vitale got away," Dante said. "He'll report back to Russo. Then we have maybe an hour before this escalates." Carlo's expression was grim. "You need to get somewhere secure. Both of you." "Take her to the penthouse," Dante ordered. Elena stepped forward. "If I'm in this, I'm in it. You're not shutting me out to handle things alone." Carlo's eyebrows rose slightly, but he said nothing. Dante studied her for a long moment. "The penthouse," he finally said. "Together. Carlo, handle the cleanup and get word to Russo that this was self-defense on his soldiers' aggression. I'm willing to negotiate, but only if he calls off any retaliation. And if he doesn't, then..." Elena was in the back of an armored SUV, watching the city blur past while Dante made call after call. His voice was calm, authoritative, the voice of a man who'd spent years commanding others. She caught fragments about territory, about alliances, about moving people to safe locations. This was real. This was his life, and she'd just agreed to be part of it. The penthouse was in Tribeca, OC, entire top floor of a converted warehouse. The security was subtle, but omnipresent. Cameras, reinforced doors, men stationed at strategic points. Inside, though, it was surprisingly warm. Exposed brick, comfortable furniture, art that looked original and expensive. "Sit," Dante said, guiding her to the couch. "I need to clean this wound before you go into full nurse mode." Too late. Elna was already pulling off his jacket, his shirt, examining the grays with, "First aid kit?" "Bathroom, left cabinet." She found it, returned, and set to work. The wound was clean, the bullet having barely caught him. She disinfected it, applied butterfly closures, wrapped it efficiently. "You're good at this," Dante said, watching her face. "I've had practice." Elena finished and sat back. "You're lucky. Another inch and it would have hit the brachial artery." "I'm always lucky." His hand caught hers. "Especially tonight." Because you stayed." Dante pulled her closer, until she was between his knees, his hands on her waist. "I gave you an out, Elena. I practically begged you to run. Why didn't you?" "Because I'm tired of being afraid." She touched his face, feeling the roughness of stubble. "I've spent years being careful, being smart, being the responsible one. And I'm lonely, Dante. I'm so tired of being lonely." "You won't be lonely with me." His voice was rough. "You'll be a lot of tea." Definitely exasperated, but never lonely. "Promise?" "I promise." He stood, pulling her up with him. "Stay tonight. Let me show you what you're choosing." Elena knew what he was asking, knew that if she stayed, if she let this happen, there would be no going back. She'd be his in every way that mattered, tied to his world and his life. "Yes," she said. Dante's kiss was different this time. Slower, deeper, like he had all the time in the world to learn her. She wrapped her legs around his waist instinctively. He carried her to the bedroom, setting her down beside a massive bed. The city glittered beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, a million lights bearing witness. "Last chance," Dante said, his fingers finding the zipper of her dress. "Tell me to stop." "Don't stop." Elena reached for his belt. "Don't you dare stop." They undressed each other slowly, trading key, learning the landscape of skin and muscle and desire. When Dante laid her on the bed, his body covering hers, Elena felt something click into place. This rightness, this inevitability. "You're mine now," he said against her throat. "Say it." "Yours," she breathed. He took his time, worshipping her body with hands and mouth until she was trembling. When he finally moved over her, his eyes locked on hers, Elena felt the world narrow to just this moment. Just them, and then there was only sensation, only the two of them moving together, only the building pleasure that crested and broke like a wave. Elena cried out, and Dante followed her over the edge, his face buried in her neck. After, they lay tangled together, breathing hard. Dante's hand traced lazy patterns on her hip. "Sleep," he murmured. "I'll be here when you wake up." Elena drifted off, feeling safer than she had in years, despite everything. Morning came with sun. Elena woke slowly, aware of unfamiliar aches, of marks on her skin where Dante's mouth had been. He was already awake, propped on one elbow, watching her with an expression that was purely male satisfaction. Stop looking so smug, she said. I'm not smug. I'm appreciating my handiwork. His finger traced a mark on her collarbone. You bruise beautifully. You're impossible. You knew that already. Dante kissed her shoulder. How do you feel? Sore. Good. He pulled her closer. Stay today. Let me feed you. Let my family meet you properly. Your family. Sunday dinner is mandatory. Aunt Carmela's rule. Dante's expression turned wry. Fair warning, she's going to interrogate you, probably embarrass me, and definitely ask when we're getting married. Dante, we literally just, I know. But to her, if I'm bringing a woman dates, I'm serious. And I am serious, Elena. About you. About this. His hand cupped her face. I told you I don't let go once I have something. I meant it. Elena should have been terrified. Instead, she felt oddly calm. Okay. Okay? Okay, I'll meet your family. Okay? We'll figure this out. She kissed him softly. But I need coffee first, and probably a shower. We can share. Dante's smile turned wicked. Water conservation. 3 hours later, Elena was surrounded by the loudest, warmest family she'd ever encountered. Carmela Salvatore was exactly as advertised. A tiny powerhouse of a woman who'd taken one look at Elena and pulled her into a hug that smelled like garlic and roses. Finally, Carmela said. Finally, he brings someone home who has sense in her eyes. Luca was there too, his arm in a sling but grinning widely. I told you, he said to Dante. I told you she was special. You kissed her fear. I'm still deciding whether to forgive you. It was medical, Elena protested, laughing. It was opportunistic, Dante corrected, but his hand on her knee was gentle. Dinner was chaos. Carmela's daughter Sophia and her husband, 2 cousins Elena couldn't keep track of, and a rotating cast of people who came and went. They argued about everything: politics, sports, who made the best sow. They teased Dante mercilessly, told embarrassing stories, and treated Elena like she'd always been part of the family. He's different with you, Carmela said quietly, catching Elena alone in the kitchen. Lighter. More like the boy he was before his father died. I don't know if I can change him, Elena said honestly. You don't need to change him. You need to remind him he's human. Carmela squeezed her hand. That's enough. That's everything. Later, as they drove back to Manhattan, Elena felt the weight of the decision she'd made settling over her. This was real now. This family. This life. This dangerous man who looked at her like she was something precious. Regrets? Dante asked, reading her expression. No. Elena laced her fingers through his. Questions, maybe. Concerns, definitely. But no regrets. Ask me anything. Will you always be honest with me? Even when it's ugly? Yes. Will you let me... my independence? Yes. Though I'm assigning you security. Dante, non-negotiable. His voice was firm. You're mine now, which makes you a target. I won't risk you. Elena wanted to argue, but she understood. Last night had proven that his world had real consequences. Okay, but discreet security. Deal. Dante pulled up to her building. Pack a bag. You're staying with me until I'm sure Russo won't retaliate. For how long? However long it takes. He kissed her, slow. Get used to it, Elena. I told you I don't let go. She packed enough for a week, though she suspected it would be longer. When she returned to the car, Dante was on the phone, his voice hard and cold. Business, she realized. The other side of him, the one that had shot a man without hesitation. But when he hung up and looked at her, his expression softened. That was for her, she realized. that gentleness, that warmth. She was his exception, his weakness, his choice. Just as he was hers. Later, Elena had a drawer at the penthouse, then a closet. Then Dante stopped pretending she was going back to her apartment and just moved all her things in. "You're impossible," she said, watching movers bring in her furniture. "You love it," Dante replied, pulling her against him. And the terrifying thing was, she did. She loved his arrogance and his protectiveness, loved the way he listened when she talked about her day, loved how he made her feel safe and desired and seen. Shine. She hadn't said it yet, but she would. When the time was right, when they'd built something strong enough to weather the storms his world would inevitably bring. For now, she had this. Sunday dinners with his family, quiet mornings in his arms, the knowledge that she'd chosen something dangerous and real and utterly hers. "I'm keeping you," Dante said against her hair. "I know, L.A. I'm counting on it." And she was. Against all logic, against every careful plan she'd ever made. She was counting on this dangerous man and the life they were building together. It wasn't safe. It wasn't sensible. But it was theirs. And that was enough. If you enjoyed Elena and Dante's story, subscribe to Mafia Tales for more dangerous romances where powerful men meet their match. Join our members area for exclusive extended scenes and early access to new stories, because sometimes the most dangerous choice is the right one.